was like, wait. Hi, welcome into the Vickie Luna Miller Show. Excited here to be today with Kristina, my friend Kristina here, that has the Acacia Mansion. I always pronounce it wrong, but we're going to be talking about the Acacia Mansion. This is a historical place here in Ojai, California, and I'm lucky to be here live with her here. We'll be talking about ghost and medium. My mediumship will bring into this too, and just the story of Madeline here. So Madeline was, I'll let Kristina here, we're going to go into that here in a minute, but me being the medium, I've connected to Madeline many times here in this house, in this historical house of hers. So welcome, Kristina.
Thank you.
Super excited to be here. This is my lovely friend too. And we're going to talk about your mansion. So First, let's just talk about where we're at right now. What's it called?
So this is the Acacia Mansion, and it was built in 1929 by some theosophists, Madeline Baird and her husband. Theosophy, if you're not familiar with, was the study of all religions. And it was a time where people were trying to seek the truth, and they were studying Buddhism and Taoism and Hinduism, and that was in this area of Ojai. It was kind of like the start of the hippieism of Ojai.
Yeah, I like the hippieism. Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know Ojai too, let's talk. So I used to live here. I lived here. God, for 3 years I lived here. The energy here, actually, I will a little bit of history on Ojai and how I landed here, especially being the energy reader, energy healer I am. I moved to California, and then I was going to actually move to this place called San Luis Obispo. I'm like, all of these big names, right? They're hard to pronounce in California. It cracks me up. San Luis Obispo. But then I kind of landed in Ojai, and what's really cool is when I landed here, the first day, I just always heard great things about Ojai, and it's spelled Ojai. That's what Ojai, California is. And I remember being in Florida doing my horse readings and, in Florida, and they were saying, oh my God, you got to check out Ojai when you go to California. And I'm like, what's Ojai, And wow, it's a magical place that when I first came here and I was going to move somewhere else, and just the day I was here, the energy here, there's a vortex in Ojai, and there's these mountains that actually run the different directions, and we have the Pink Woman, and there's just an amazing energy in Ojai, both good and bad. I don't know if you know that, Kristina, but there's some darker energy in some parts of Ojai too, and they come out of different areas. But when I moved here, the one thing once I moved here, being an energy reader, energy healer, there's tons of healers here, tons of psychics, tons of readers. They're all drawn to this vortex here, but there's much more than that. Ojai, California, it shifts shit out of you. I'm just going to say it takes you and it clears out stuff. And it's a huge healing place that I've learned that you're either here for 3 years, like I was, you come here, you're drawn here, you do the healing. I've known many people that do this. They come here, and after 3 years, it's kind of like Ojai kicks you out, because now you've been there, done that, done the healing. And then I noticed the people that also live in Ojai that have been here for, God, if you've been over here over 5 years, I think you're
years.
Here. Yeah, I think you're here. Yeah. So it's like
it didn't
two extremes.
spit me out.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There's two extremes. Either you're here to heal, and then once you're healed, and I'm talking like it clears you, it heals you. And I was going through a divorce at a time, somebody that was very bullying and just a hard narcissist divorce. And the thing about Ojai is you're in this valley, and it feels very protective, and it's also very feminine energy. I don't know if you know that, but it's very feminine energy. And it's obviously very Native American. And when I was here, it just felt very protective. It's a great family community. It's interesting too, when I first moved here, it's very feminine energy, and I was single too. And there's more women here than men by far. And if you are a man and you live in Ojai, you have a feminine energy. Not saying you're gay, but I'm saying you're more on your feminine side than your masculine side. There's not, is there really, do you know of any Superman masculine men here?
Maybe the cowboys. There's some cowboys.
Yeah, there's some cowboys, but they're more in touch with their feminine side. You
Yeah.
know, that's what the energy here is. But it's been interesting and how much I got to see, also being a medium that I am, I got to see a lot of different energies here when I was here. Some ghosts are here, some different energies. And just giving everybody kind of a history on Ojai. And then, so if you're here, like Kristina's been here a long time, that's where I've seen the two divides. It's either you're here to heal and you're out, or you're here. And if you're here over 5 years, most likely you're here forever, or it will be still your home base. You'll still be your home base. So you having the mansion, we actually I met Kristina. Hey, pretty Tiffany. Thank you. I met Kristina, years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago when I met her. And we did some message galleries here in her home. And so let's just talk about the history of the home, because you were talking about the hippie days, because Ojai is a part of that kind of. It's very hippy dippy here. I like it because it's a collective though.
Yes,
you have the celebrities, you have the artists, you have the homeless people, you have them all kind of intercombined. Like you go into a restaurant and you see like I remember walking in the first time to Farmers and the Cook, which is a very famous restaurant here. That's obviously straight from the farm. You get to eat. And I remember sitting down and, here I'm from Florida, I'm all blingy and, I've really blinged down a lot since I moved here. But I remember sitting down and seeing across there is Ted Danson, with his wife. What's his wife's name?
Oh, Mary
something. I saw them all the time.
Yeah.
He lives here. And then I remember seeing him with the TV guy. And then the next table was like a guy has no shoe on, has dreadlocks. He looks homeless, but he's not. He's just a hippie. And I'm just like, wow, everybody's so diverse here. I love the energy here because everybody's very accepting of everything, right? And that's the energy here. And I feel like that's what Ojai draws, is very artist and pretty cool energy. So then you got the mansion.
Yeah, I bought the mansion to turn it into a wedding venue. So I've done that for the last 15 years. But I was remembering with the first party that I invited you to, and you showed up so blingy. I was like, who's this girl? Oh my God. So dressed up, because Ojai is not about what you wear, what you drive, or anything like that. It's just very casual.
Yeah.
But we do love to dress up here though. At the mansion.
Yeah. Well, being from Florida, I remember, I came here all blingy and it's just it's all kind of hippy dippy here, but a nice hippy dippy, it was pretty cool. So I forget what parties. So then we started, when did we start? When I started channeling Madeline. So let's talk about the house and the history as far as there is, especially the mediumship here. There is a lady that did live here. She's the one that started it. And I can't always tap into her. We'll see if she comes through right now, actually, too.
You always tap into her.
Yeah.
She always has something to say. She's pretty bold. Things that they were into was mediums and doing seances and alchemy and, just delving into the other world.
The spiritual world.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so spiritual too, because they're of the energy here. Yeah.
Right.
And then what about Madeline that started the house? Was she into that too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was her thing. But I've had many psychics see her, talk to her, and always they try to get her to cross over. And she's like, nope, I'm not leaving. This is my house. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. That's a great thing for mediumship. A lot of people, just want everybody to know, crossing over actually is beneficial. You really do want somebody to cross over, but it's always up to their spirit if they want to cross over or not. I just worked on somebody the other day that came to me and she was in a lot of anger. And so let's talk about this. When you die, there's no time frame in heaven. So when we die, our spirit goes straight to the highest level of dimension there is usually, but sometimes it may linger around the person's home, or it may stay around the people, especially if the people are not letting that person go. So if you have had a lost loved one and you're just dwelling on that person and you're holding on to them, it's actually the worst thing you can do, because it's keeping them at a level that's not letting them cross over to the highest level that they can. And we all, of course, want everybody to cross over. And there's a lot of factors that goes into it when you do die. If you're in a lot of fear, or if, like I said, the people are holding you back, then yeah, you could stay a little bit more around the etheric world here on earth. And just know that there's no time in heaven, though. So, I may be working with somebody that doesn't cross over for hundreds of years. I've worked on military people where they've died unexpectedly, and I've had to work with their soul to get it, and they died unexpectedly years ago, like hundreds of years ago. But there is no time frame in heaven, but it is very beneficial for that energy to go. And I'll share my own story, which was pretty cool and interesting, before we talk more about Madeline. So I was in, this was in New Hampshire. This is a while ago. This was with my ex-husband, and we were on a vacation on a lake, at pretty much a shithole. I'm just going to say, like, the trailers, like, everything was so old and outdated. I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing here? But my kids were there. We were there on this vacation, and we just got in, and my son must have been like 8 or 9. We heard footsteps. All this stuff was happening in this place. And me being the energy reader, I will tell you too, like New Hampshire, Maine, all that area. Lake Winnipesaukee was the lake I was on. And it has like dead energy. It's just like tons of dead energy, because think about the military, that, back then, the Civil War and all that. So there's a lot of dead, yucky energy in there. So I'm in there, and the door, I remember I'm sitting there with my husband, and the door cracked open, and I'm just like, I see this old man, like energetically, not obviously in person, looking at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? So we started going back and forth with this door. I was getting mad. I was like closing the door, he'd open doors, closing the door, he'd open doors. It's just like, oh my God. So next thing that came through was this little girl, and she came running through and then went to the lake. And I'm like, what is going on here? Who are these people? And then my son comes running in the room, and he's like, I heard footsteps. So anyways, all this started happening, and this man, which this place we were staying at was called our Ames Farm, where they had these different little things, and they had a farmhouse, and that's where you would go eat the restaurant. So the next morning, I'm going back and forth with him, and I finally said, you need to cross. You need to leave us alone. And he wouldn't cross. He's like, I'm not crossing. I'm staying here. And I didn't know who he was. I'm just like, well, then you need to leave me alone. Like, you're allowed to stay, just leave us alone. So finally he did leave us alone. So the next day I'm at the restaurant, and I look up, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the picture of the guy that I saw last night. And of course, he's Ames. It was the owner from back in the 1800s of the farm, right? And he wouldn't leave his land. I was just like, oh my God. I mean, at least he left us alone. We still had some little things here and there. So this happens a lot, where I've realized in my readings and healings, especially because you think of it, the land, the house, especially if you're like so attached to it and you made it your own and it becomes your baby, and you have so many roots in it, where they don't want to cross. They want to kind of like hang out and be around that area. And so that's what the story here with the same thing with Madeline, because you said, I feel Madeline actually comes through a lot to protect the house and protect who's here. And to also know that she's also chooses who will live here and who won't live here. And this also can happen if you go to sell a house or something, somebody else, if you go to sell a house, they're going to choose, they're going to have a lot of say, even though they're dead, on who and what comes in. So any stories? Let's talk about Madeline, because Madeline was the one that built this house, right?
Right. Yeah. So it was her design. And if you see the pictures on the website, you'll see how magical it is. And it has hand-painted ceilings and marble floors, and it's just gorgeous. And I think she put a lot of her heart and soul into it. So she really doesn't want to leave. But she has, over the years, given me a lot of messages through people. One of the stories that came up a lot was that there was this necklace. Do you remember the necklace story?
No, I channel. I don't remember when I channel. No, sorry.
She kept telling, I had maybe 5 different psychics in here, and a lot of them I didn't even know were psychics. I could see ghosts, but she was like, Madeline wants you to have this necklace, and it's this.
I said this?
You said it too.
Oh, I said this. Okay.
And I'm like, what is this necklace like? Is this a diamond necklace? And so it would end up being, one time we had a ghost hunter here, and it turned into like a scavenger hunt. Like, where could this necklace be hidden somewhere in the house? And there is actually, it was a wall safe, and one of them told me that maybe it was behind the safe, and one of them thought it was maybe in the laundry chute. Like, had fallen through onto the floor. We set cameras all around trying to find this necklace. Then Vickie comes in and does her gallery reading, and she goes, no, it's just this symbolistic necklace that Madeline wore that was the theosophy symbol. And she perfectly described it. You've probably never even heard of theosophy before, right? She perfectly described it. Was like, it's like a snake around a circle with an Om symbol, and there's the Judeo cross, and what else? There's like, it's like 5 different religions all in one piece.
Oh, cool.
And you described it, and you said she just wants you to wear that. She wants you to take on her theosophy and just wear the necklace. So
and this is after you looked all over
for years, 10 years or something, like trying to find this stinking necklace that was somewhere in the house that wasn't.
That is great.
So I found that necklace. I should have worn that today, but I have my moonstones on instead. But yeah, that was the story about the necklace.
And she's come in a lot of times, like she'll come in, like when I do medium message galleries and stuff, and she'll warn you. I forget, like,
oh yeah, what was the last one? She said that I needed to get a new refrigerator.
Oh yeah, did you?
No, it's still okay, but it could go at any time.
Did it break?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But it's like 20 years old.
We're
I know.
Mercury retrograde.
I know. It's like 20 years old. The dishwasher broke.
Yeah.
That needs to be replaced. But no, there was another time when she said I had a medium that actually was speaking through her, and she was really worried about the front corner of the mansion that said it was if there was an earthquake, it was going to collapse. And the front is all like white, stuccoed walls and arches. There's like 3 arches out front, and it looked fine to me. And then one day we had a little tiny earthquake, and some of the bottom of it crumbled, and I looked under, I put my hand under there. All the wood was rotted under there, and the whole balcony had shifted down like 6 inches.
Oh my God.
So we had to rip all that out and then replace the columns because it was settling. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And but I wouldn't have even thought to check.
Right.
If she hadn't have said
right.
that was an issue,
Yeah. And, just anybody else too, like listening to even mediumship, whether you have somebody occupying your house like a ghost, or you want to just connect to your own loved ones, you can definitely do that. And I would highly recommend that, especially in my readings. They'll just tell me, what's coming up, what's going on there, but you can definitely do that even to loved ones or your angels, just seeing, hey, what's going on in my house. And also want to talk about the rooms, because I just feeling some energy here. I feel there's some uneasiness in some of the rooms. I don't know. I feel like also when I'm hearing when you go outside, like I feel around there. So it's your family room. It feels like your family room, and over there, I'm going to say like,
the den.
Yeah, kind of over there. Does anybody, or is it real heavy? Like, have you noticed when you go in there, it's just harder to breathe, or do you not want to go in there?
In the den?
No, I'm seeing over there, like over there. Oh, you know what it is? It's your guest house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes, it's your guest house. Yeah.
Well, I think might be another spirit in the guest house. Was another lady later on that is occupying that one.
She doesn't want anybody in there.
She was the one I heard. She liked to feed my dogs spirit food. The dogs said that they wanted real food and tell her to stop trying to feed us spirit food.
So has it been running out, or have you been having problems?
No,
okay,
no,
good,
no,
good. Okay, good.
I don't know if they've been bothered by me. I lived in there for 4 years. She never bothered me.
And I'm good. So do you ever have anybody in here that ever say anything, like they feel any presence? Yeah.
In fact, this last group, not this group, but one a couple weeks ago said that they were woken up by the doorknob rattling on the master bedroom. And that she did that to me a few times too. She would you'd hear like the doorknob opening.
And tapping into her, I see she loves to screw with people.
Yes.
So she loves to scare people, especially she's telling me, especially the people that don't believe. So she, if they're not open or they're skeptic, I feel her kind of scaring the bejesus out of them.
Great.
Yeah, because
No.
Kristina rents this place out.
Well, I have a lot of guests that will say, "Is this place haunted?" And if they say at the beginning of the trip, I'll say, "No, not really." And then at the end of their stay, when they're getting ready to leave, I'll go, "Well, did you have anything happen?" Because I don't want them not to be able to sleep. But
No.
I think the worst thing she does is that rattling the doorknob. Really,
Mhm.
although she did last year. This time we were shearing the alpacas, and I had this young girl staying in the guest house, and they got a visit from her, and she said that there was an electrical issue in the basement that was going to cause a fire, and that I needed to know right away and take care of that problem.
Wow.
And so as soon as I got in here the next day, I had an electrician come in, and there was this. She actually described there was a box on the wall that had all these wires in it. And that was a phone box. Like that was how all the wires, they used to have a lot of phone systems in here. And what I didn't realize was inside was an old like electrical socket, and all the cloth had come off and the wires were exposed.
Wow. So it was right.
Hazard.
So the message was right.
Yeah. And so we got that taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But she came to the girl like 2 nights in a row, was like insistent and telling her like, we need to get on this.
Yeah, so I feel
she's awesome.
Yeah,
spirit to have.
She is awesome spirit to have. Yeah, and letting everybody know too, if there's a certain room you don't want to go into, the biggest the way to tell is your animals. If you have animals, they will get spooked big time by spirits, and also if there's a room in your house that they don't really want to go to, there's a reason. So, is there anything? And Kristina has a new dog. And the dog actually likes to stay outside. Mr. Butler likes to stay outside more than here, but
well, there's the one room that most of the animals don't like to go in is the blue iris room. I think that's because it's George's room. Remember George?
No. Who's Blue Iris?
The blue iris, that bedroom upstairs.
Oh, upstairs. There. No, let's talk about George. Is he a ghost or?
Yes.
No, I don't. Oh,
he's a famous ghost.
No, let's talk about him. I think I remember channeling him at one time, but I don't remember.
He has an accent.
Mm-hmm.
He was a famous writer.
Remember, he came here that one. I do remember he came here that one night, but he was more quiet.
Yeah. So he's a famous writer. George Bernard Shaw is our other spirit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I've been told over the years that I had this male spirit here, and
he's very quiet.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He didn't really cause much disruption except when I was doing the renovation, and he didn't like the noise, and he wanted it quiet so he could write, because he was a writer. And at the time in the 30s when he was coming here, he was also a theosophist. So he would stay here and write. So when I had the history done, that's how I found out that George Bernard Shaw, and Aldous Huxley were both writers that would stay here during that time when Madeline owned the house. And then they were friends with Krishnamurti, who was the theosophist, like their leader. And so when I was doing the renovations, a couple times I heard loud noises. It sounded like books falling on the floor in the middle of the night, like him waking me up. But I think he comes in and
he's very quiet. I just see him very quiet. Yeah. He's not like Madeline is very, she'll tell you what's going on.
I don't know if he's here all the time, because he lived in England and he died there.
So let's talk about that. It doesn't matter where you die. It doesn't matter once your spirit goes into heaven, into another dimension. Heaven's just really another dimension. It doesn't even matter, because I get this all the time in my readings too. Like, I didn't know my grandmother, I didn't know my grandfather. It doesn't matter. That soul, that spirit can go there. It can go somewhere else. It can go everywhere. And usually, where it really meant a lot to you, or whoever's needed, is where the soul and the spirit will go to. We're looking at here at Linda. I lived in an apartment that I knew something bad happened when I noticed the rug was different than the rest of the condo. Found out a girl committed suicide. Oh, this is a great subject, Linda. For anyone, if anything ever happens, I actually just did a reading the other day on this property. This is a great thing to know for everyone. This property, this lady, it's a farm, and she's like, the land is beautiful. But she's having all these problems. She's leasing it. This is actually in Florida. She's leasing the land, and her neighbor is a jerk. And she's having all of these issues. And the first thing I tapped into the land, the energy of the land, and I was like, there is just bad juju going on this land. And she's like, is it from the person that was hung? You know, she found a person hung. They hung themselves off a tree. You know, this was years back. And I'm like, yeah, bad juju. If somebody does, and it's not just necessarily killing, but especially if you're murdered, suicide, you know, any of those energies, there's a lot of sadness or grief along with that. That energy will stay in the property and stay. And sometimes even I've worked on tons of places, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen those houses that keep on selling there, and somebody moves in and they sell, or the business that sells and sells and sells and finally goes out of business. When it comes to the land and to the energy of the land or the home, yes, you can clear it, but sometimes you cannot. It will take years, just like this piece of property I told her about. I said, you know, it's fine for your horses, but I don't see you living on it. It's not fine. It does not. The land didn't want anybody to live on it. And I said, and it's going to take years of cleansing. And this is the other interesting thing, even myself, I experienced. When I lived in Florida, I got divorced. I had a beautiful home. I just built my beautiful home with my husband at the time. That's not the reason, well, could have been added to the reason of our divorce, but building a home is very stressful. But it's what's really interesting. I learned about this neighborhood, and I started realizing this in my own readings. This whole neighborhood that we moved into, it was acre lots, beautiful gated community. Everybody was getting divorced all the time.
Oh my God,
all the time.
It's like poltergeist.
So
built on an Indian burial
ground.
ground.
Yeah. Well, my house growing up was like that. So I started realizing in my readings too, and this is really important for people to know. And I started realizing, and then of course I sold my house that I was married to. And of course the new people moved in, they got a divorce. It's just this repetitive circle of divorces. And my second husband too, the same thing. We moved into this house. Oh my, it was a huge house, Vortex City. Of course, like I'm drawn to all these houses, of course, that have like tons of shit going on in them, right? But it was full of anger. These two were getting divorced at 90 years old. Right? And the woman, this was in Florida. It was a 6,000 square foot home for one woman. And she shut off, like literally you could shut off the backside. It was 6 bedrooms. It's a huge house. Like why would one woman live there? And there was all this energy of anger. And of course I'm like, oh, I'll move into this house. You know, because I'm an energy healer, and I cleansed and I cleared and I worked with the vortex. And even when my kids was like, there's some creepy man in here, I worked with it over and over again. And I also ended up in a divorce after this house. And I started realizing this in my readings and my healings and everything. The land, also I had another person here actually in Ojai that I told her land needed a lot of clearing. A lot of stuff happened on her land. And she asked me if she should build a house. And I said, no, this house, you know, the land needs more 3 to 4 years to clear before you can even think of building a house. Well, she didn't listen to me, which everybody's their own thing. And guess what? She had one problem after another problem, still has a problem. It's been 4 to 5 years now she's been building this house. And had one problem after another problem after just like nonstop problems. And so the energy of the land does affect everything. And yes, you can clear some energy. Sometimes you can. But what's interesting is I started realizing in my readings, especially with my divorces, you know, people, whether this is 2 things I was thinking, either I picked and chose that house because I'm already going through a divorce. Like it, you know, you're going to go through whatever, when you're going to go through a divorce, you're going to go through a divorce. You can't like really, you know, not go through that. You can't be like, oh yeah. So either that was coming up in my future and I chose this house that would actually help to make it happen, you know, and that's why people choose certain houses that, I mean, I'm not kidding you. This place in Florida, I'll mention it, Black Hawk. So everybody knows in Florida, if you're moving to Black Hawk, you might be getting a divorce. No, just joking. But there is so many, like it was probably 40 homes when I was there, and it was up and coming. It was a brand new neighborhood. Now it's much older, of course, but every single person in there was getting, it was like contagious. It was like boom, 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 boom. And I started realizing this in my readings too. I mean, you got a divorce too. Where were you living at the time?
Here.
You were living here.
Mhm.
And how, do you know the history or anything?
Of this, of
Of this
getting
house?
divorced?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the history and all the people that lived here. The couple before us got a divorce, the ones we bought it from. And I think I had that energy cleared, those people.
Yeah.
I think that was a very volatile relationship.
Yeah. And that's good to know too, because when you have, if you move into a house or a home that has that, lots of fighting. Well, first of all, you need to clear your house every day anyways. I mean, I can't imagine not clearing your house, but especially if you're moving into a new house or you're wanting your house to be sold, you got to clear the energy with saging. And sometimes it's going to take a lot more. There's also the energy cords you need to pull up and pull out. Somebody here is asking some. Yes, gut feelings are a real thing. Yes, they are. Hey, Kim. Hey, Mona. Hey, Sylvia. You guys are joining a little bit late, but maybe you want to go back to the show when we're done here. Yeah. So isn't that interesting about the divorce? So I started seeing that. So
did you figure out why that land was so cursed?
Which one? Mine?
Blackhawk area.
Yes. You want to hear my awesome story? Oh my God. So this is great. So this is such a great story. So yeah, this is my first husband. So this goes back like, God, how old am I? 20, 30 years. Yikes. Anyways. Yeah, this is a great ghost story. I have tons of ghost stories, but that house, so that whole land, all that land was just land. And then they started developing with these big, beautiful homes, but it was Native American land. And when I moved into the house, this was a brand new house. I worked for the builder. It was Arthur Brick Homes. Those of you in Florida know it. It's a very good, reputable builder. Very nice and expensive one. We built our dream home, like gorgeous dream home, right? Has just gorgeous. And so I remember moving in. It's brand new. And the first thing, our lights, and we had 2 different zones with air conditioning. We had a heated pool, and our lights would just start like just whenever, just go off whenever, on whenever. The air conditioning, it was 2 different systems. The one side would switch to 60 degrees nonstop. Like we would just switch to 60 degrees. And it would just go on and on. And so, of course, I'm calling, the air person. My pool heater would switch on to 100 degrees, okay? Talk about expensive. Electricity in Florida is expensive. My pool heater, and I was so done. Ma'am, that's impossible. Ma'am, it's not impossible. I'm like, and I worked for the builder at the time. I'm like, this is happening. And I actually started recording it because nobody believed me. And then we heard a slamming noise. We kept on hearing this slamming noise. And we had this kitchen with this beautiful mitered glass. I mean, we're talking, this house was gorgeous. And we just kept on hearing the slamming noise, so much so that I had a huge Halloween party, and guys at the Halloween party were like, oh, good noise. I'm like, that's not a noise, my noise. My garage doors, we had 3-car garage, would go up and down all the time. My kids would come running in and be like, Mom, the doors are doing it again. We're talking like 15, 20 minutes. It was driving me insane. And then my son, he was 3 at the time. One of my sons was 3. He had an imaginary friend. Wasn't imaginary. He had an imaginary friend he called Fritz. He called him Fritz. And I was like, who's Fritz? And so, and our TV would go on and off, just all this stuff. And I mean, this went on for like 4 or 5 months. It was driving me insane. And so back then I got those, remember, what are those things called? The dowing systems.
The divining rods?
Yeah. Divining rods. My whole house was going crazy. And we're talking, I had an acre lot. And so all this land had a lot of land too, right? So we had this swimming pool. We had the slamming noise. We had all this stuff going on. And one night, and this is my first husband, and he's really not into ghosts. He's not into, spirits. He's not into that stuff. And in our room at night, a shadow was on our wall. There's no way a shadow could be on our wall. We have curtains shut. There's no way. A shadow was on our wall that looked like a little boy with a cowboy hat on, and it stayed for 4 nights. And what's crazy is my husband at the time, he's like, I know, he's like, wait, it gets even better. He's like, what? He's like, he was like, well, that looks like a little boy with a cowboy hat. What's it doing in here? And he started getting freaked out, And then I start telling him all this stuff. And then, my son's going on and on about Fritz every night. And, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Was the little boy Fritz?
So I had a dream. So this is what's great. I had a dream that night after the little shadows on there. This little boy back in when did they wear dresses? Probably like 1800s, maybe. He pulls my hand in my dream into my house that I'm in now and starts showing me through my house, goes back to where that slam was in my pool. Oh, before I get to this point too, the swimming pool guy finally came out and he's like, ma'am, that's impossible. Ma'am, that's impossible. I was so over it. It turned on right in front of his eyes. I was like, yes, yes. And he called the guy. He's like, oh my God, can you believe this just happened? Like everybody was all like, and I was sick of coming to my house and being 60 degrees. It's freezing. So this little boy is pulling me through my house and he has one of those dresses on. And then he takes me to the back by the pool and I see him start digging a casket. I see his uncle with him and the boy died of some kind of like measles. I saw or polio or something like that. And I see the casket go slam. That was the slamming noise.
God, chills up the back of my neck.
I know. And I was like, oh my God, that was a slamming noise. Yes.
Oh.
So and then I started thinking about it. A little boy stuff. Who would make your doors go up and down? Who would play with your lights? Who would play with your air? And I'm like, it's this little boy screwing with us. And then, my son kept on talking about Fritz. And then I got a divorce and was out of there. I was asking. And then I asked, after we sold the house and the new people, we got a divorce. They got a divorce. And it was just this repetitive energy. So the whole energy of that whole thing, just even tapping into it now, definitely Native American. And Native American land, you got to be very, because my second house too, that I told you we had a lot of issues on, that you have to be very gracious, and sometimes you can't clear the house. And Native American land, it can really screw with you, and think about how much Native American land there is. And so it's really important to tap into that energy. And it's what's interesting because, people will be like, well, I just built this house. It doesn't matter if you just build the house or not. Energy is energy and it all comes from the land. This is also in businesses. We've all seen the restaurants that just go out of business, go out of business, go out of business, go out of business. And so there's also, when I do my reading, I can tap into it and be like, okay, this land wants you, doesn't want you, this house wants this, doesn't want this, what's going on. And yeah, sometimes you have to move. I had this client that, oh my God, this is so horrible. So I had this client they bought her son, this is in Northern California, built a house, and the kids got really, really sick. Like they had like 2-year-old, 4-year-old and 5-year-old. And I'm like, it's the house's energy. Like there's something wrong with this house's land. It's the house's energy. Then the house burned down. It caught on fire and burned down. And she was like, I really want my son not to go back into this. And I'm like, no, he needs not to. He went and listened. He rebuilt. And I'm like, you're going to continue to have problems with that house because there's something going on with the property or the home. Glad you got out. I lived in haunted house for 6 years. One had an attachment issue to me and didn't like people. New people, didn't like my mom either, had it blessed and cleansed many times to no avail, slightly better but not perfect. I saw shadows on my wall too. This is from Lillian. It was doing her finger puppets, totally freaking. Oh my God. Crashing noises with nothing disturbed. My son was messed with when he was sleeping, toys going off by themselves. I could go on and on. Yes. Yeah, and that could definitely be an energy that comes from the home. Lillian, I feel it. I feel a very, just tapping into the energy there. I feel a really heavy energy with that home. And I want to let you know too, because your son, I also feel, you said your child, I feel like your son, and I want to talk about this too, is people don't realize that they can bring in poltergeists when they're going through hormones changes. Children, even starting at 6, usually around the 11 or 12, one of my sons did this. They can pull in poltergeist energy because their hormones are changing. So they actually can pull it in. And sometimes it's the child, it's not the home. I actually did a reading on this lady, that same kind of stuff that was happening. Things were flying off the walls, and she was moving from house to house. And I'm like, it's your son. Your son's bringing in this poltergeist energy. Have you ever had a poltergeist energy? Mm-mm. Poltergeist energy is really just screwing with electricity, and it feels very heavy. Like when my oldest son, thank God out of 5 kids, I only had 1 poltergeist, and thank God I'm a healer because I worked with it. But it was for a year. You know, you have to continue to work with that energy. And so when the hormones fluctuate like that, they can bring in the poltergeist. The poltergeist energy also is very heavy, electrifying. Oh, are we still on? We just had some, we'll see here. Okay, I think we're still on.
Reconnected.
All right. We're having some Mercury retrograde awesome things going on. Or maybe we have Madeline. Madeline just came in. She wants more attention.
Yes, I was thinking that too. I was feeling that also.
Was thinking like that attention. So let's talk about Madeline, and then we'll be ending the show here. I just now noticed the time. So anything else we would need to show? Madeline is she's like a show hog.
What does she have to say?
I was out for
with the house.
Yeah, she just, she loves the house beautiful, fresh and new. She also is saying right now it's going to be going through some change, and be okay with that. That, you know, you're going to be letting go of it, of how it was before. And she's also showing me change of, you know, maybe before it was a fun time, and now I see more elegance. It's going to be a more elegant time. Not so like she's done a lot of parties here. Obviously right now, because we're in Corona. Thank you, Corona.
There's no
no parties right now. But yeah, she's telling me that there's going to be she wants more elegance brought to it. And I'm also seeing clear quartz crystals. She says to put some clear quartz crystals around to clear the energy, especially from the virus and from the people.
Okay.
She's cracking me up too. She says people are going cuckoo.
They are. People are going cuckoo.
People are going cuckoo. Here in California, people are going cuckoo. I can't wait. I'm moving. I'm going to Ohio. Did I just say moving? I'm going to Ohio.
Are you moving to Ohio?
No, I'm not moving to
Ohio.
I'm going to Ohio, and I just can't wait to get on this energy. Yeah, next week. So I'll be to Ohio. I'll be in Ohio. I'm doing a medium message gallery for those of you too in Ohio, July 6th. Excited to come live and have my live groups again. And I'm going to be in North Carolina doing a horse show in Blowing Rock, July 22nd that week. So maybe I'll see you guys there. So is there anything else?
What kind of elegance could we have here?
She wants more clear quartz crystals. She wants more, she's showing me shiny things. Like I'm even seeing for you to wear more kind of shiny, clear. Have you been wearing this is shiny, but
I do wear a lot more.
I like this.
I do wear a lot of
shiny stuff.
Sequins and glitter, yes.
Yeah, more elegance. You know what she's saying? She says you need a 1950s party. I don't even know what 50s is.
1950s?
Yeah.
Like a sock hop?
What's a sock hop?
You know, when they wore the poodle skirts.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That could be fun. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
We are going to have a Halloween party.
We are. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about your Halloween party, and then
we always do a Halloween party every year with a band, and I think this year we'll still have a band, but we might just have it inside and not. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll do it outside. Yeah. People seem to think they're safer outside than inside. I don't think it really matters.
No, it doesn't. It's so BS. Anyways, that's my thing. Okay, well, yeah. So if anybody, you can Google. This is a great destination place too. You have this place for rent too.
Yeah, I rent it out. You can sleep 12 people here, and I've had lots of families coming in that. You know, they were on lockdown for a while, and then they were missing their grandparents and the grandchildren. And so they got everybody together in this space, which is really fun. And I have a saloon, game room, and a pool. And it's just lots of space for people to enjoy. And it's all walled and gated too. So you don't have to come into contact with anybody else if you don't want to.
And how do your website?
I have a website, acaciamansion.com is the website. Yeah. And then you can follow on Facebook too. We post lots of fun things. We've been doing house concerts here, like having music events with some great musicians too.
Yeah.
So a lot of the musicians have not been able to perform in public. So we've been doing Facebook Live events. They're fun with some amazing musicians.
And she's telling me right now too, she wants me to have a medium message gallery here before I leave.
Yeah.
I guess I'm leaving. I don't know when I'm moving, but whatever. Yeah, she said, yeah. So we used to do media message galleries here. A goddess retreat would be great too.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
we
great
will
for
be doing, I
retreats.
will be doing more stuff here for sure.
Yeah.
And there's alpacas here too. This is where you guys see me with alpacas a lot. Also, they're outside here on the premises.
Yeah, they all got their hair cut last week.
Yeah, they're cute.
And I think we decided that one wasn't pregnant at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because once we shaved her, you have to see her. She's just as skinny as all the other ones. I don't know if there's any baby
Did
in
you do
there.
the spit test?
Not yet.
Oh,
We
okay.
can do that after.
Okay.
The spit test.
Well, thanks for sharing, Madeline.
Yeah.
We'll be talking more to her. Definitely check this place out. And it's really good too to have, can you have weddings yet?
I'm not really supposed to have any weddings, but
okay.
word of mouth.
Okay. Well,
Friends.
Yeah, there we go.
Friends weddings.
Yeah, but you definitely check this place out online. It's a great place. And Ojai, California is just very magical. And it's a great destination place, even if you don't live here, because I see a lot of people here from other states. This is an amazing town to come visit. And it's about 30 minutes from me. I'm on the coast. So it's pretty cool because you have this kind of island place of Ojai, and then you can still go to the beach too, 30 minutes away too. Well, really 15 if you go to Ventura. So yeah, check it out. Thanks for, this was fun. I love talking about ghost stories. We'll have to talk more about ghost stories in another show. All right, everybody, have a magical day, and we'll chat to you later.